Hello and welcome. I'm just going to take a moment to check and make sure that we are live and showing up okay on Facebook. Brilliant. All right, so welcome everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Laura Mazzata, and I am a holistic therapist of 20 years and an Akashic Records channel. And I absolutely love guiding people into sustainable wellness, liberation, and deep intimacy within themselves, within their relationships. And this is all done through really developing a sovereign sense of their own soul, spirituality, how they wholly define themselves at all layers. And so this applies to parenting as well. And I'm bringing this forward because I actually did a live in my membership group, Exploring Wholeness, when someone was asking about my feedback on parenting. And I ended up going live for a really long time and just channeling, and a lot of really beautiful guidance came forward that I grabbed some snapshots of, and I'm sharing with you today because it's really important to me that the collective has this information. And I am also hosting a Zoom workshop tomorrow night called Unwavering Love that will offer you the opportunity to take this information and really personalize it with getting feedback on, this is what's coming up in my life around my parenting journey. And I need some help. I want some help. I want some guidance, not because I'm doing anything wrong, but because I desire to be the highest level and version of me that I can be in this role of parent. So when we talk about the role of parent, that can span a lot of different experiences in our lives, right? Like I parent myself, I parent my children, sometimes I parent my partner, sometimes I parent my mother, and so it's being able to realize that we are in this role of parent, no matter how old we are, no matter what phase we are in our lives. And we get to define that however we want to define that, right? I noticed for many years that my relationship with my children, particularly when they were younger, was more from a place of people pleasing, because I was trying to meet this standard of what society delivered to be a good mother, where actually our children sign up to, and anybody in our lives sign up in a soul contract to be part of our lives and to learn lessons from being exchanged with us. So they're signing up for the real us. They're signing up for exactly who we are, even if we don't fully accept who we are or don't fully know who we are, right? And so we have a responsibility to get to know ourselves so deeply at every layer: energetic, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. We want to get to know ourselves so well that we're very, very clear and confident about how we're showing up in relationship, whether this is being a parent or being a partner. I mean, this applies to all of our relationships, right? And you're going to find a lot of what I talk about today is going to apply to a lot of your relationships and not just your role as a parent. Okay. And this is why I opened up the opportunity to connect on Zoom. Hey, Deborah, how are you, honey? So good to see you. This is why I wanted to offer the opportunity to jump on Zoom, because all of this information is going to be super, super valuable to you. It's like a masterclass in itself. But then there's talking about, how do I concretely apply this in my life, right? In my relationships, in my day-to-day, as I go throughout my days. And that's what the Zoom call is for. It's really for you guys to be able to ask those questions about, hey, this is a relationship that I'm in, that this pattern keeps showing up, or this is how I have been showing up in my role as mom, and it just doesn't feel like it's working, or in my role as a father, and or my role as a child who's then parenting their elderly parents, right? So this can happen at any time in our lives, and we're going to find ourselves going in and out of these phases. But that's what the Zoom calls for, is to really customize that for you. So let's talk about the few different points that I wanted to pull out from that live and really bring to the attention of more than just a small group. Okay. So one of the things that I think is the most important to talk about is having faith in other people, right? Whether we're talking about our kids or our parents or ourselves, deepening in our faith in that, because what we often find is, I'm worried about that person. I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about my mother. I'm worried about my partner, whatever. And when we are sitting in worry particularly on a regular basis, we unconsciously, subconsciously, and energetically transmit this belief to them that we don't have full faith that they can handle it. right? Like what happens if either that they can't handle it, or that something is going to happen and therefore we are not going to have that comfort and safety of the attachment that we have to that person. So we're making it about us, right? We're making it about us, where really it's like, I find myself sometimes having that worry come up around my kids. And my first thought, or even my partner, and my first thought is, I have faith in them. And I have faith in them that they also know they can always come to me. They can always come to my husband or to any other supports in their lives to access the resources. So it's not just, oh, can they handle it themselves, right? It's also, I trust them that not only do they have the resources within themselves to be able to move through this, to learn from it, and to come out the other side, but also to access any resources that they need to access in order to be able to move forward, right? So it's deepening in our faith in those people around us, but also deepening our faith in source and God and the universe to be able to work through these people and connect with these people, however open they are to receive that energy, to move along on the path that they're meant to move along. And that's why it's important for us to disconnect what we think their journey should be, or we think an appropriate journey is for them to be able to move into their highest and best, and really trust God to do that, right? Because it's not for us to judge how they live their lives or what choices they make. So it's offering more freedom to our loved ones to be able to walk their path. And our role is more of one where we are modeling for them by saying, I am choosing to be deeply in tune with myself. I am choosing to radiate at the highest level of being in connection with my soul. I am choosing to lead from love, right? And that these people in our lives can come, they're always invited. Like they're always invited to participate in that vibration just by being in our field, just by being present with us. We don't have to do anything necessarily. And so it's trusting that. This really deepens our trust in the divine, deepens our trust in energy, to be able to say, like, when I align to this certain version of who I desire to be, I'm going to impact those people in my life in a way that they're going to have even more access to resources and to a vibration that assists them with moving forward. Okay. So they're stronger than we sometimes make them out to be. And we are stronger than we sometimes make ourselves out to be. And one of the reasons that we hesitate to do this is because we're afraid of disappointment too, right? Like we don't want to, you think, I don't want that person to get disappointed. Well, guess what? Like we're not here to protect people from disappointment. They're allowed to be disappointed, right? In fact, it's part of the human experience. It's part of what our souls sign up for. So let's trust each other to move through disappointment instead of having to jump in and try to save people. Or when somebody's crying, it's funny because one of the things that I've stopped doing is when people are crying, it's always, oh, let me hug you, let me hold you, right? What if they don't want that? What if they don't need that? What if that isn't how they are meant to move through this? What if they are meant to be in those tears and just have me here as a witness, accessible and available to them for whatever they need, right? And so it's really giving people more sovereignty and giving ourselves more sovereignty than we're maybe wired to do or accustomed to based on society and how you're supposed to be responding to people when they're in an emotional state, right? Because no matter what's going on, I will always go out of my way for the people that I love. No matter what's going on, I'm always going to go out of my way to help people. And when you know that about yourself and you're grounded in that and you're fully appreciative that that's who you are and you know your own heart, then you know the people in your life know your own heart and that they know that they can come to you and that they know that you're a resource, right? But I'm not going to swoop in and take away an opportunity for somebody to advance their journey because I'm too caught up in my own projections and fear and mistrust. Okay. So the other thing that I'll share here is that comes right along with what we were just talking about is this concept of just being physically present with people. Like take the pressure off of yourself as a parent. This is where redefining this role of parenting is so important because, hey, Donna, how are you, honey? Because it's like, we're supposed to show up a certain way, in order to be good parents. Where here it's actually like, well, everybody's soul signed up that interacts with me and is close to me in my life, signed up to be on this journey with me and to exchange with my energy. And so the best gift I can give them is to cultivate my own energy. And I don't have to do anything in my relationship or exchange with them. I don't have to force conversation. I don't have to intrude and fix things or give the best advice or intervene in a way that helps keep them, quote unquote, safe, right? I'm just supposed to show up as me and just be physically present with them. That's it. Because being in my raw energy is exactly what they signed up for. That way, I am not in a space of reactive interaction. I've detached from their journey. I'm not going to sit here and grip onto it, what I think is right for them, right? And I'm not going to feel that I need to offer feedback or play a certain role in whatever they're processing, right? Like I'm just physically present. And just by being physically present, I am sharing with them. I'm available to them. Okay. This is brilliant as a parent because you're really allowing people to write their own story. You're allowing your children, you're allowing whoever you're parenting to write their own story. I will go out of my way to just go into my children's rooms and just sit there. Whether or not we're talking or they're involved in something, obviously I'm not going to be intrusive about it, but like if they're just chilling, I go out of my way to go into their room or wherever they happen to be and just sit with them. Just be present with them. Sometimes I'll do something on my phone if they're in the middle of something, or I'll read or write my journal. And sometimes we'll get into conversation, and sometimes we just sit there and we both do our own thing and it's fine. But it's my communication there is, I just want to be with you. Like I just desire to be physically present with you. There's no pressure. Nothing has to be done. Nothing has to be constructive. Like we don't have to have this deep conversation. Like I just want to be with you. I love being in your physical presence. Like I just love being in your physical presence. Right. And in that way, that's so good because then we're not responding to somebody saying, I need you. Something's wrong. I'm not doing well. And then you're going in to kind of help them rather than I'm actually just choosing neutral times or times that are really positive, but most likely neutral times just to be with you because I want to. Because our nervous systems easily get wired, and this has happened across the globe, get wired to like creating issues so that they get a response either from us or from other people. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm sick or if I'm not doing well, then Laura's going to take care of me, right? For my own body. Like I'm going to swoop in and give it all the TLC because I'm not feeling well. Right. Whereas I'm not going to have as much of a need for that illness if I'm consistently and repeatedly giving myself TLC and compassion and just loving on myself because I love being present with myself. Right. And same thing goes with our kids or with anybody in our lives where it's just like, hey, I just want to be with you. I just like being with you. And I want to respond to you being in my life without there having to be a reason for it. Right. So that you don't have to generate a reason for me to be with you and for you to receive my energy. Because ultimately, what do we want? We want intimacy. We want intimacy with ourselves. We want intimacy with the divine. We want intimacy with those in our lives. There is nothing more intimate than presence. There is nothing more intimate than presence. I was just talking in my vitality program about this morning, about how when we get into this state of like hyper independence or like, don't bother me or like I've got this, right? When we're in that space, really what we're being called to do is being present with ourselves, be present with the person in our lives, be present with our mission, with our purpose, right? Because when people come into our field and we're in this hyper independent, oh, I'm good. We may not, quote unquote, need help, need guidance, need feedback, need someone with us, but it could make it easier. It could lighten our load. It could be super self-loving to allow someone to come in and assist us, right? So in the same way that we were just talking about the physical presence with our children, with the people that we're parenting, there's other people that are also desiring to be physically present in our field, to be available to us, right? And so we're actually being called to deepen intimacy in that case, deepen intimacy with ourselves, with source, and with people around us. Okay. And what ends up happening is, like, in this concept of like new age spirituality, we can so easily get into this space where it's like, okay, well, I'm shifting from doing all the things that our society has taught us to do to be a good parent, and I'm going to shift into just being myself and aligning with my soul. And then we get into the point where it's like, okay, now I'm aligning with my soul. So I'm going to do this and this and this as a parent because that's what's spiritually aligned. You're still in that point trying to please a higher power, trying to please a part of yourself that is like trying to get to a place other than where you are, right? It's like, be an acceptance of who you are. What is your raw energy? That's what people sign up for when they come into your world, right? Because what happens is we then swing the pendulum from like, okay, I'm not going to align with society. Now I'm going to align with defining mother my own way. But I really know that I want to connect with my soul to do that. And so I'm going to do this parenting thing the most spiritual way possible. So you're still following guidelines that are not necessarily within your own language, right? Of who you are. You want to find a balance with all of these layers. Like I said, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, and physical. Okay, bringing this definition across the board into harmony, because we end up stifling ourselves even when we align with our soul, because then we're trying to do the spiritually right thing and we're still stifling what's coming up from within us. Like, that's one of my biggest questions for you right now is like, where are you stifling yourself? Where are you shutting your mouth where you prefer to say something as it is? You know, and I've noticed this more as my children have gotten older. I have 3 kids. I have 2 teenagers now, my oldest 2. And it's this ability to just be yourself, right? And it's like, why are we not our raw selves all the time? Why are we not our raw selves all the time? Like, our kids sign up for just being with us real and being able to show them, yeah, when I get pissed, this is how I move through it. When I'm a hot mess, this is how I move through it. You know, and they get to witness in real time what it's like to be human and how to regulate your nervous system and how to interact with other people when natural human things get delivered onto our plates, right? But we have all these rules and these guidelines that we feel like we have to manage in a certain way or present in a certain way, or we hold certain things from our kids because it's not appropriate. They know a lot more than we think they know, and they can handle a hell of a lot more than we realize. They are so resilient. Children are naturally resilient. We are naturally resilient. So that's the other place I'll ask you is like, where are you not completely honoring and appreciating and celebrating how resilient you are? Right? Like, we know that when a kid falls down and gets really pissed off, or gets really anxious or gets really sad about something, and they're outside and they're playing around and they have this feeling, they're going to snap out of it and they're going to get back to what they want to do because they want to do what they want to do, right? We have the ability to do the same thing. Let's have faith that they still have the ability to do that when they're 5, when they're 12, when they're 13, when they're 18, when they're 25. And same thing for ourselves. And same thing for our parents, and same things for other people that we parent in our lives, right? Resilience is naturally built into who we are. But we end up erring more on the side of fear and going with that like primal brain stuff that's going on, right? Of like reactivity. And so reactivity is not the problem. It's just being able to be with the reactivity, accept it, see it, appreciate it, move through it. And the people around us are going to witness that process. And they're going to be like, oh my God, like, it's so funny because one of my friends always says to me, she's like, yeah, I'm just going to pull a Laura, because you can always say like, oh my gosh, this shit is like a disaster. And it's so cool. Like, it's so awesome because I can always see what's coming out of it. I can always see the medicine and what we're experiencing. And that's really what we want to be able to get to, where we are, as we are that raw version of ourselves and we're not stifling ourselves, we get to a higher level of authenticity quicker in our lives. These people in our lives get to benefit more from this heightened level of authenticity, because I can say I'm fully authentic with you right now. And I'm fully authentic with you because I'm the same person no matter where I am. But guess what? Next year when I go live, I'm going to be even more authentic than I am now, simply because I'm going to know a hell of a lot more about myself, because I have human experience and I have awareness and I have this deep connection with spirit that I'm always diving into, that continues to expand who I am and seeing different layers of who I am. And that's a process we want other people to witness and to understand, so that there's not all this shame out there about these phases of life that we naturally go through as human beings that our souls sign up for. So one of the things that I will say to you is, like, when your kids come to you, or anyone that you're parenting comes to you with anger, rage, resentment, anxiety, annoyance, whatever it is, how are we used to responding? It's just kind of like, all right, let's dive into the context of this. Let me help you figure it out. Like, what's going on? Bitch about it, vent about it, like bring it up. Let's talk about it, whatever, right? Fine. Some of that may have to be part of it, depending on the intensity of what's going on. But more importantly, your response can shift into, thank you for bringing this to me. Thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for opening your field to me. Thank you for showing yourself to me, taking off your mask, showing me your raw self. Thank you. I love receiving all of you. I am here for all of you, right? And this includes with ourselves. As this comes up within ourselves, like, thank you for feeling safe enough to bring this forward with me in my field. Like, thank you, because you know that I can hold it. You know that I'm a safe space. And that's really what it's about. It's about the presence. Like I said, there's no deeper intimacy than being present with someone and just saying, wow, like, thank you so much for sharing this with me. And allowing it to flow from there. And if you need to talk about the context, fine, but it's also like, what are you feeling? You know, I'm here for whatever you're feeling. There's no too much about what you're feeling. I'm here for all of it, because I trust that all of it can be shifted. I trust that it will pass. I trust you to handle it. I trust that in this space between us, there's alchemy happening. There's energy shifting. There's transformation happening, just by being here together in the context of what vibration you're bringing forward, right? I'm just looking at my notes here because I had taken all these notes on this live that I did in my membership, and I wanted to take a few points out that I highlighted for you. Yeah, and this is the other piece, is like, so this concept of that when they bring forward emotion, we just talked about that, but then there's also behaviors. So when they bring forward behaviors that we're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot, right? Like, they bring forward these behaviors. And it's being able to reflect that to them in a way that doesn't shame them for their behaviors, but just is being able to say, like, I see this behavior and I'm curious about it because, and curiosity, by the way, you can never go wrong with curiosity. That's like, that should be your middle name in this journey of life in general, right? It's just getting curious about everything that comes into your field. And so it's like, not to the point where you're analyzing everything, but just those things that you feel reactive toward. And so they bring forward this behavior, and it's kind of like, I'm curious because to me, this doesn't align with who I know you are, right? Like, I know who you are. I know your heart. I know exactly what you stand for. And so I'm just curious about the behavior. And so it's kind of just getting curious with them and just asking, like, I totally respect whatever space you're in right now. I get it, but I'm just curious, like, you know, how is this serving you? Or what is your intention behind this? Like, what are you looking for from this? Right. And it's just allowing them space for curiosity. That question never has to be answered. And that's one of the things that I think we get caught up in, especially in the parenting role, is like, but I need an answer, right? Like, I need an answer, and I need to know that you know, and I need you to get the lesson, right? And it's just kind of like, trust that the seed is planted. And then if the behavior happens again, the seed will be growing even more, right? And the seed will be nurtured even more by your similar response, right? If they keep coming to you with all of this reactivity or all of this behavior, and you keep coming at them with all of this reactivity from your end, you're simply reinforcing the same process. You're reinforcing the same behavior, right? And you're giving the content attention, where it's really not the content that wants attention. It's just the energy that's coming out of them that is meant to flow and shift and transform. And it feels like it can do that in your field because you're so centered, because you know who you are, because you don't waver on how much you love yourself, how much you trust in them, how much you trust in yourself, how much you trust in source. Okay. So you're witnessing their process, you're reflecting, and you can also do, which I do on a fairly regular basis, where when this comes forward for you and it's this pattern where it keeps coming up, it's kind of like, all right, God, this energy keeps coming to my field over and over and over again, right? Like, what am I missing here? What is the message that I'm meant to integrate? How am I meant to like, you're obviously, it's in your field for a reason, right? Where is it that I am being invited to shift into a higher version of myself, or a higher perspective, or a more divine perspective? Because this is a behavior that's repeated, that's coming into me, into my field to witness, whether it's my own or somebody else's, that there's clearly something here for me, right? And allowing yourself to be humble enough to witness that, and to witness you, but also to witness them, and allow it to excavate parts of you that expand who you are, because we are all one consciousness. We are all one mind. When we talk about unified love, when we talk about collaborative community on this planet, as I raise my consciousness, the consciousness of the planet raises. As you raise your consciousness, the consciousness of the planet raises. Like, we all share the same fears, the same worries, the same doubts, the same love, the same reactivity. We all share all of it at different levels and in different contexts, but we all share the same, we all share consciousness, right? So like, as I let you reflect to me, I reflect to you, and we all reflect to each other. And it's choosing to be in a space of responsibility for how you show up, and for how much you align with deep trust of yourself, and deep trust of the higher power that has created all of us and is orchestrating this whole earth dance. Okay. And so likewise, we want our children and the people that we're parenting to witness how compassionate and loving and patient and open we are in our process as our emotions come up, right? And that our emotions activated by them have nothing to do with them. Even our children has nothing to do with us. We personalize way too much in the parenting role. We personalize way too much. We try to force these people to get into a certain level of who we think they need to be, so that we don't look like failures, so that we don't feel like failures. Being human is very messy, but our souls sign up for it, right? It's messy, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So we want to hold that vision of how beautiful it is to be human. And that it's all okay, that there's nothing wrong with you, that there's nothing wrong with anybody, right? All of us, to a degree, crash through life, right? Like, oh, okay, there's another curveball. Here we go. Taking for a ride, right? But it's how we respond to those things, and how we deepen our self-love in those things, and deepen our intimacy with ourselves, with source, with others, as we move through those situations, that allows your faith to stabilize in a very, very steadfast way. That each of these moments that present to us in human life are an invitation into a deeper level of intimacy with who we ultimately are, right? And one of the mantras that I'll share with you that I was sharing with my group was this mantra of less is more, right? Like, talk less, observe more. Now, I used to have this mantra when I was younger because I wouldn't shut up, because I'd always put my foot in my mouth and say inappropriate things. I still say inappropriate things pretty much daily. But I celebrate them now. But then it was more like I was practicing less is more from a place of not wanting to offend anyone, of trying to fit in, of trying to have this sense of belonging, right? And now I incorporate less is more, not from a place of like, I'm not good enough, but from a place of wisdom, right? The less I get involved in my children's lives in terms of like what they choose to do on a daily basis and things like that. And then, you know, pushing them in any direction at all, like just letting them be, letting them do, letting them learn in their own way, right? The less I say and the more I observe, the more energetic data I have, right? The more energetic data I have. And the more I'm understanding their present state rather than infusing my own, so that what comes out of my mouth is going to be laced with much deeper wisdom and much deeper integration of their energy and not my own or any standards. Okay. And one of the biggest steps in this practice when it comes to parenting is surrendering your attachment to any of your children's outcomes. And this one's going to hurt and it's going to make you feel like you're going to vomit. Well, at least it does for me. I won't project that onto you. But this concept of surrendering whether they live or die, surrendering whether they succeed or not, right? That is a nauseating concept to come into understanding of, because we feel like we're here to protect our children. We're here to take care of our children. We're here to, we're responsible for keeping them alive. Right. And it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're 2 and they're going to run across the street, there's some very practical steps that come in here that we're going to guide our children through. Right. But we're talking about like deepening your trust and saying, my children came here for whatever contract they were meant to fulfill in this lifetime. It's the same thing for yourself, like surrendering whenever your time is to go. Right. And being able to say, like, I am here for however God desires to serve through me, for whatever that looks like, for however that gets expressed through me. Right. And I will follow inspired action and take the actions as I'm guided, and I will learn along the way. But it's the same thing with our children. And the reason I say this is because so much of what we do with our kids is we grip on to making sure that they survive and making sure that they're good people. Right? Instead of trusting that, well, of course they're going to survive. Like, of course they're going to be good people. Of course we're going to deepen our faith in the fact that God will lead them, that we will be that vibrational example, that vibrational holding space for them to come into their own awareness of what they are meant to experience and have unfold over the course of this lifetime. Okay. So it's a very bold invitation to be able to surrender our attachment and just say, I trust that he's going to be as he's meant to be. I trust that she is too. And take responsibility for your own vibration, your responsibility for your own vibration. Because I can't tell you how many parents I see that make their kids their entire lives, that make their kids their entire, and completely self-neglect until their kids are off to college. Right. And it's just like the best thing you can do for your kids is focus on yourself. The best thing you can do for your kids is cultivate your own vibe and feel like the highest version of you, because they're automatically going to receive that from you, whether you speak or you don't speak. Okay. So it's my question for you that I'll leave you with here is like, how deeply are you willing to vulnerably love yourself? How deeply are you willing to vulnerably love other people? Right. Because this kind of love is a very, very raw, taking off the mask, taking off the armor, taking off the agenda and the control of this is what I want their lives to look like. And just showing up in this very raw, like, I'm going to love with my heart wide open. I'm going to love with my heart wide open. And I'm going to do that without feeling like I need to grip on or control or create an agenda for this person to not have something happen to them or shift in a certain way that then I get hurt, and this vulnerable heart that I've totally opened is now wounded, right? And we want to protect ourselves from that wounding. And this massively interferes with our parenting journey, right? But if we just allow whatever emotions come up with us to just be, and just be energy that are moving through us, that we know that we can handle, that we know we're going to shift into something else in 5 minutes or in 15 minutes or in 3 hours or in 2 days, right? And we know and we trust that, then there's nothing stopping us from continuing to deepen our love and continue to deepen our vulnerability in whatever relationships we're in, right? And bringing this concept and this conversation to the table in the context of parenting is mind-boggling for so many people, because we talk about deep vulnerability and intimacy and intimate partnerships. We don't talk about it in terms of relationship with our children, because we feel like we're not supposed to bring that to the table, because that's not how we define the role of parent. You get to define the role of parent however the hell you want. It gets to look however you want it to look, and none of it's wrong. You cannot fuck this up. You cannot fuck this up, because everybody in your life that is desiring or needing to receive parenting or guidance or feedback or modeling from you signed up for you, signed up for your raw energy, signed up for your open heart, not for all of your stifled conversations and your armors and your masks and your walls, because you're trying to be somebody that you're not, so that you can fulfill some kind of definition of what feels right to be a good person or a good parent or a good child or whatever role you're parenting in. Okay, so take all of this, allow it to be seeds that are planted for you today. Okay, I know a lot of this stuff is kind of heavy. It's definitely heavy, and but it's honestly, that's only because you're receiving it from a space of, oh shit, I got a lot of work to do, or oh gosh, don't use this to find shame in what you're doing. Okay, because that's not going to be productive. Use it as an opportunity to say, wow, I have a new level of awareness that I'm open to receiving. Like, celebrate that you're even watching this. If you're watching this at all, you are open to receiving a new perspective, right? That doesn't mean you do everything that I said here. It means that you take something that came out of this and feel like, oh, wow, I never looked at it that way before. And you just start to let that seed germinate within you. Give it some space, breathe into it, right? And I'm going to drop the link here for my parenting workshop tomorrow night, because that's really going to give you guys an opportunity to say, all right, Laura, you said all this stuff in this live. That sounds all well and good in theory, but how do I apply this? Like, how do I actually apply this? Because this is what's going on with my mom, and this is what's going on with myself, and this is what's going on with my kid. And this doesn't seem very realistic, right? Because it can sound like it's not very realistic. All right. But that's why the Zoom call is so important after this, for you to be able to say, all right, like, I want to know how to apply this, like tangibly apply this in my life, so that I feel like I'm in a space of greater grounding, greater confidence, greater clarity. And the name of the workshop is Unwavering Love. Unwavering love for myself, unwavering trust in the divine, unwavering trust in my children, unwavering love for my children. Because in unwavering love is trust. How deeply do you trust the people that you are parenting? Because I promise you, there's always space to deepen your trust. There's always space to deepen your love. There's always space to deepen your surrender. We are working with the infinite. Okay, we are working with the infinite here. So tomorrow night, we're meeting from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. It's called Unwavering Love. It's $55 to enter. It's going to be a very, very small group. You're going to get a ton of individual attention, a ton of individual coaching, and it's going to be a beautiful circle of people just being exactly what we're talking about here: raw, vulnerable, taking off the masks. This is how I show up. This is how I want to show up, but I feel like I shouldn't, right? This is the feedback I'm getting in my field, and holy shit, am I doing it right? Am I fucking all this up? Right? A lot of the times what I find when people come to me is that they already know the answer and they just need the validation. They're already doing everything perfectly, right? They just need the validation or the tiniest little micro tweak in their mindset so that it feels a lot easier. Because the fact is, this actually gets to be a hell of a lot easier than it feels the vast majority of the time. So we get to celebrate you stepping into actualizing ease, greater ease in this exchange with people. Okay. So drop below. What is the number one thing that activated from you this in you? Okay. Speaking again, what is the number one thing that activated you the most in this experience today? It could be activated in a good way. It could be activated in a, whew, I don't know about that one. Or you could feel reactive to this, which is all okay. None of it is wrong. And it's all a reflection and information and data from your field to say, intriguing that I'm getting reactive about that. What is it? What judgment, what meaning am I placing on that is coming up within me that desires to be seen right now, that desires to be shifted? Okay, so thank you so much for joining me for this. I so appreciate you for being open to receiving this feedback, for being open to connect to different perspectives. And I really encourage all of you to define whatever role you're playing, whether we're talking about parenting or anything else in your life, whether it's partner, whether it's child, whatever role you're in, you get to define that role however you desire. I am empowering you to choose, not just fall into or follow or go along with your comfort zone. Choose. Reminder to respect each journey. Yes, exactly. You're welcome. So I hope to see some of you tomorrow in the Zoom call. And otherwise, thank you again for being here and receiving this. Share it with anybody you think could really benefit from this experience. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye.